7 Signs of a Weak Man. In Stoic Men Tribe, today we're tapping into a powerful truth, a moment of inner strength, sharp clarity, and timeless wisdom. Don't skip any part of this video. Share your thoughts in the comment. Please do us a favor by hitting the subscribe button, like, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's break it down. Not all weakness wears a visible face. You won't always see it in slouched shoulders or timid eyes. In fact, some of the most fragile men you'll ever meet stand tall with broad chests, chiseled arms, and commanding voices. They move like giants, but shatter in silence. Because strength is not built on muscle. It's built on mastery, not of others, but of self. You see, the world teaches men to look strong, to lift heavy, speak loud, dress sharp, and take up space. But it rarely teaches them to be strong, to regulate their emotions, to sit with discomfort, to endure boredom, rejection, and solitude without running, numbing, or blaming someone else. There are men who dominate rooms, but crumble behind closed doors. Men who collect followers, status, and accolades, but can't confront their own reflection without flinching. They chase validation like thirsty dogs chasing drops of rain, because they never learn to draw water from within. And then there are others, quieter, slower to speak, still in their presence. These men do not demand attention. They do not perform strength. They embody it. They walk with the weight of unseen battles on their shoulders and the wisdom of restraint in their bones. They've been broken, but they refused to stay broken. They've been lost, but they never gave up looking for themselves. And in the fire of discipline, reflection, and failure, they were reforged. So let this not be a sermon of shame. This is not an attack on the man who is struggling. This is not to belittle those who are still learning how to stand. This is a call, a summons, a challenge to awaken the strength that lies dormant in too many men, buried beneath pride, comfort, and the emotional cowardice. Because weakness is not a curse, it's a warning, a signpost pointing to where you must grow. So what follows is not to mock the fragile ego, it is to confront it, to name the disease before it festers, to speak directly to the man who knows he was meant for more, but keeps folding under his own weight. Here are 7 signs of a weak man, not to shame him, but to strip away the illusions, to expose the soft spots and offer the fire, so he can rebuild, not as who the world told him to be, but as who he was born to become. 1. He craves approval more than he respects truth. A weak man lives on borrowed courage. He's not guided by principle, but by popularity, not by clarity, but by consensus. He speaks not from his soul, but from a rehearsed script written by others, by the crowd, by culture, by fear. He's the type who silences himself at the dinner table just to avoid disapproval. The type who changes his mind mid-sentence when the room disapproves. Not because he had a revelation, but because his spine was made of paper. He's agreeable, likable, nice, but not real, and certainly not grounded. Because at his core, he's terrified of being misunderstood, of being labeled wrong, of walking a path no one else is walking. So he trades his voice for applause. He trades his truth for temporary peace. He mirrors the trends, the tribes, the loudest voices in the room, never realizing that in trying to belong everywhere, he truly belongs nowhere. The man who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The man who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever been before. Albert Einstein. But truth is never popular at first, and those who speak it, clearly, calmly, without apology, will always disturb the comfortable, because truth doesn't stroke egos, it cuts through illusion. And most men would rather be liked in a lie than alone in truth. True strength begins when you stop shaping your words to please others and start shaping your character to please your conscience. A strong man doesn't chase approval. He chases alignment. He knows who he is. And even if the world walks away, he stays rooted in that knowing. If you live according to nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to opinion, you will never be rich. Seneca. And what is nature if not living in alignment with the fire inside you, rather than the applause outside you? 2. He runs from responsibility and worships the blame game. A weak man has 100 reasons why his life is the way it is, and none of them are him. He blames his parents for his mindset, his ex for his trauma, the government for his lack of progress, the weather for his mood, the world for not understanding him. He builds his entire identity around what happened to him, never asking what he can do with it. But what he doesn't see is that every excuse he makes is a link in the chain that binds him. You'll know a weak man by how quickly he says, "Yeah, but you don't understand my situation," as if being understood is the secret to becoming powerful. It's not. The strong man doesn't need pity. He needs clarity. And clarity begins the moment he says, "This is mine to carry. Even if I didn't choose it, it's still mine to solve." Because here's the truth. You don't always cause the wound, but it's still your job to heal it. You may not have started the fire, but you're holding the bucket now. Responsibility is not a punishment. It's power. It's the only thing that lifts you out of the role of victim and into the role of builder, protector, creator. It is not things that disturb us, but our interpretations of their significance. Epictetus. The weak man lets the world define the meaning of events. The strong man defines the meaning for himself. He says, "This is heavy, but I'll carry it. I'll grow stronger under it." Weakness is not in failure. It's in refusing to be accountable. Because the man who cannot own his life can never change it. The strong man becomes the pillar in the storm, not because he asked for it, but because someone must stand and not sway. Freedom is the will to be responsible to ourselves. Friedrich Nietzsche. Responsibility is not just about being a man. It's about being alive with purpose. Blame delays your growth. Ownership accelerates it. And the man who stands up, even trembling, and says, "This is on me," he is already becoming unbreakable. 3. He is a servant to his cravings. A weak man walks through life with a leash around his neck, but no one's holding it, because the leash is his own desire, and he is both the captive and the captor. He chases pleasure the way a starving man chases scraps, never realizing he is starving because of the scraps. The momentary dopamine, the empty thrill, the quick escape from a heavy mind. He cannot delay gratification. He cannot sit with discomfort. So he runs to the bottle, to the screen, to the body of another, thinking he's free, when in truth he's just numbing the ache of a life he refuses to build with intention. He mistakes indulgence for liberation. He thinks freedom means doing whatever he wants. But if you must say yes to every craving, you are not free. You are shackled by invisible chains. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. The weak man sees self-denial as suffering. The strong man sees it as sovereignty. Because he understands something the world has forgotten. The ability to say no is the foundation of every powerful yes. He practices restraint, not to punish himself, but to prepare himself. He fasts not just from food, but from noise, lust, and distraction, to prove he is more than his impulses. He sacrifices the shallow to reach for the soul. Pleasure is not the enemy, but the untrained pursuit of it will rob a man of depth, purpose, focus, and presence. The strong man still enjoys life, but his joy is earned. His pleasure is sacred, never compulsive. Discipline is not his prison. It is his throne. And on that throne, he rules not others but himself. 4. He cannot be alone without falling apart. A weak man drowns in silence. He avoids solitude like a sickness. Not because he dislikes being alone, but because he fears what he might hear when there's no one left to distract him from himself. So he surrounds himself with noise, music, conversation, chaos, constant stimulation. He's always on, always available, always performing. Because he doesn't know who he is when the performance ends. Even toxic company is better than no company at all to the man who cannot face his own reflection. But here's the truth. If you cannot sit quietly in a room alone, you are not at peace. You are running from something, and what you're running from holds the key to your transformation. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Marcus Aurelius. The strong man retreats, not to escape the world, but to recenter within it. He does not fear the silence, because he has made peace with what the silence reveals. He walks into solitude like a warrior enters the wilderness, to sharpen his senses, to meet his shadows, to grow. Solitude is his sanctuary, not his punishment. It is in solitude that the strong man hears his true voice, unfiltered, unafraid, uninfluenced. It is where he confronts what others hide from, where he feels the full weight of his emotions, not to be crushed by them, but to understand them, master them, transcend them. The weak man sees loneliness as a curse. The strong man uses it as a forge. He emerges not bitter, but wiser, not hardened, but purified. Because some battles must be fought alone. And when you learn to walk through the fire of solitude and come out whole, there's nothing in this world that can take your peace from you again. 5. He resists growth. Because growth hurts. A weak man lives on repeat, not because life has trapped him, but because he has trapped himself. In routine, in excuses, in the lie that says, this is just who I am. He fears change more than failure. He avoids mirrors that show him his stagnation. He surrounds himself with people who expect nothing of him, so he never has to rise. He'll sit in the same job, the same mindset, the same pain, for years. Not because he's content, but because he lacks the courage to evolve. To grow is to rupture, to rip through old skin, to question your habits, to outgrow the labels that once made you feel safe. And that process is not comfortable. It is not gentle. It is not easy. But comfort is not your friend. It is the hand that holds you down with soft fingers while your potential suffocates underneath. The weak man says, why bother changing? This is good enough. But good enough is the deathbed of greatness. And just getting by is a life unlived. He who is brave is free. Seneca. Because it takes a rare kind of bravery to look yourself in the eye and admit, I've been playing small. I've settled. I've let fear drive the wheel too long. The strong man chooses discomfort with purpose, over comfort without meaning. He chooses pain that leads to growth over pleasure that leads to decay. He sees each day as a chance to refine himself. Not just survive it. Growth is not a phase. It is a lifestyle. It is a man's sacred rebellion against the death of his own potential. 6. He misunderstands the feminine because he's never understood himself. A weak man's relationship with women reveals his relationship with himself. And often, it exposes the void he tries to hide. He will either place women on pedestals and expect them to save him, or drag them down with mockery so he can feel like more of a man. In one form, he becomes the eternal boy, clinging, needy, lost without her attention. In another, he becomes the bitter cynic, loud, boastful, detached, desperate to prove he doesn't need anyone. But both are masks. Both are signs of the same hollowness. He uses women to validate his worth, or to carry the emotional burdens he refuses to face. He chases, manipulates, or clings. Not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being rejected, fear of not being enough. But the strong man is different. He does not see women as tools, trophies, or therapists. He does not need conquest to feel powerful, nor devotion to feel alive. He honors the feminine as sacred, not because he needs her to complete him, but because he is already whole. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca. The strong man is not threatened by her strength, nor intoxicated by her beauty, because he does not define himself by her presence or her approval. He knows who he is, with or without her. He leads with self-respect, not manipulation. He loves deeply, but not desperately. He protects, but never possesses. He does not confuse dominance with masculinity, or submission with love. He walks beside her, not above, not beneath, as a man who has tamed his own wildness before trying to share life with another. His worth is not borrowed from a woman's gaze. It is forged in solitude. It is built in silence. It is earned through discipline, pain, and inner work. 7. He reacts emotionally and cannot control his temper. A weak man is easily shaken, not by war, but by words. He walks through life like a raw nerve, always on edge, always looking for a reason to erupt. A sideways glance, a minor delay, a harmless disagreement. It doesn't take much, because beneath his chest, there is no anchor, only chaos waiting for permission. He confuses emotion with authority, volume with strength, and rage with respect. But what he doesn't see is that every time he loses control, he loses command of himself. And a man who cannot command himself will never be trusted to lead anyone else. The weak man makes everything personal. He takes offense like it's oxygen. He lashes out, not because others have hurt him, but because he never learned how to hold pain without letting it bleed on everyone around him. He blames his anger on others. He says, "She made me snap. He disrespected me. They pushed me too far." But the truth is simpler and harder to accept. No one makes you explode. They only reveal that you never learned how to hold fire without burning the room down. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. Epictetus. There is nothing strong about being reactive. Animals react. Children react. The truly powerful man responds. He breathes. He waits. He observes. Not because he's emotionless, but because he has trained his emotions to serve him, not sabotage him. The strong man feels everything, but is ruled by nothing. He can stand in the face of insult without needing to strike. He can hear the word no without crumbling into resentment. He can be disrespected without disrespecting himself, because his strength is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is not performative, it is quiet, controlled, rooted. His power lies in restraint, in knowing that just because he can react doesn't mean he should. Anger is not evil, it's a messenger, but only the disciplined man knows how to listen without becoming the storm. So the weak man throws tantrums like a boy pretending to be a warrior, but the strong man, he remains composed, because he knows that peace in the midst of provocation is the highest form of power. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.